So we did it, fam. We won. We beat acid rain. It's a huge environmental success story, and it made this episode of Captain Planet irrelevant. Or so we hope. I will give a little history lesson, though. In the 70s and 80s, acid rain was a big geopolitical deal. The world apparently just learned that if things go up into the atmosphere, it doesn't really respect state boundaries. I'll keep this super brief, but burning coal creates nitric acid and sulfuric acid. This goes up into the atmosphere and collects in raindrops, and then it falls back down to the ground and destroys ecosystems. In the 80s, it was found that rainwater was 10 times more acidic than normal. But contrary to what was in my childhood nightmares, acid rain only had the pH of like coffee or orange juice, so no melting skin. But ecosystems are fragile. While acid rain doesn't have the power to make us all walking skeletons, it can over time corrode buildings. It pulls aluminum out of the soil, which makes it inhabitable for plants, and it washes away minerals that organisms need to stay alive. So there's a chain reaction that's involved. Like with many things, the science community presented its research on this to politicians, and it quickly became political. The Reagan administration did drag its feet a bit to do something about the problem. And during this time, Congress tried to pass 70 bills to regulate emissions that would cause this, all unsuccessfully. As we established, air pollutants travel across borders, and Canada was getting pretty pissed at the United States. At one point, it was said that acid rain was the greatest irritant in U.S.-Canadian relations. Much simpler times, I guess. What might come as a surprise, George W. Bush campaigned as an environmentalist president. And under him, he established a cap-and-trade program that helped diminish emissions that cause acid rain. A cap-and-trade system sets a cap or a limit on the amount of emissions that a factory can put out in the atmosphere. The trade part is the incentive, so it's a market-based solution. If a factory goes under that limit, they would be doing this by using things like scrubbers on their pipe stacks, or a type of coal that has lower sulfur content. Well, if they go under, they can sell those allotments to other companies that might have a more difficult time so that they can meet those goals. And then that cap that was set by the government would decrease over time so that all emissions would go down. But here we go. We flash forward to 2025. The Trump administration, with Lee Zeldin at the head of the EPA, announced tons of rollbacks on EPA requirements. They claimed that these regulations were costing the American people trillions of dollars, which isn't really accurate. And they also don't account for the public health risk that these regulations have been preventing. The other thing to all this that really bothers me is that a lot of these announcements are just for the headline. They just get their political base all rallied up and feeling victorious, when in reality, the world has changed. What I mean by that is in 2001, 51% of power plants were powered by coal. 2017, it was just 16%. We're starting to move on from this. So deregulating doesn't really do much. This is coming from a place of weird idealism I have right now. But we've already invested so much in the infrastructure to not use coal. It just doesn't seem likely that we'd want to go back to that. This administration gives the vibe of, I want to invest more in typewriters. And nobody wants that. We've moved on. So yes, these deregulations could potentially bring back acid rain. For right now, we all just need to be vigilant. The Environmental Defense Fund has a map on their website that shows companies and factories that have applied for an exemption to EPA regulations. It's in the link in my bio under the resources, but check to see if there's anything near you that you could become an advocate for. We really don't want the 7-year-olds of today to have nightmares of going out and playing in the rain and then having all of their skin melt off, right? So until next time, the power is yours.